The top stories tonight in Y News. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. urges the Department of Public Works and Highways to ensure timely project completion and within the allocated budget.
Three Bilibid gang leaders plead guilty as accessories in the killing of broadcaster Percy Lapid Mabasa.
A political analyst believes the supposed weaknesses of the controversial Maharlika Investment Fund or MIF bill somehow caused delayed transmittal to the palace.
And the criticism of United States President Joe Biden against Chinese President Xi Jinping fuels growing diplomatic rift after progress from the visit of the U.S. Secretary of State to Beijing.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, the 23rd of June, 2023. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am Hardin Delgado.
First in the news, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said he expects the Department of Public Works and Highways to remain committed to fulfilling the administration's 8-point socio-economic agenda by constructing critical infrastructure projects and pursuing innovations that would benefit the Filipino people. Nel Maribuhok reports.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. directed the Department of Public Works and Highways or DPWH to complete the construction of infrastructure projects on time and within the allocated budget. The chief executive said this as he led the celebration of the DPWH 125th founding anniversary early this morning.
So as we celebrate this milestone, it continues to be my hope that everyone in the Department of Public Works will remain steadfast in its mandate as well as stay committed to fulfilling this administration's 8-point socio-economic agenda by committing to construct and finish critical infrastructure projects on time, on schedule, and under budget.
He also urged the agency to embrace the concept of inclusivity and accessibility as its future infrastructure projects and ensure they would last for at least 80 years.
So, wag natin lang iisipin kung ano yung maganda ngayon. Kailangan tumagal ito. Kasi hindi lang na after 10 years, di natin gigibayin yun. Ang laki-laki ng binayad natin para diyan. So, it has to stay relevant. Well, first of all, it has to physically survive that kind of time period.
PBBM asked the DPWH to incorporate elements of Philippine culture and history into its infrastructure designs to foster a sense of pride and belonging among the communities. The president also wants to include vulnerable sectors like persons with disabilities and pregnant women in agencies' infrastructure designs. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Three gang leaders or inmates in the New Bilibid Prison or NBP pleaded guilty as accessories to a lesser offense over the murder case of broadcaster Percy Lapid Mabasa. They are Aldrin Galicia of Sputnik Gang, Alvin Labra of Batang City Jail, and Alfie Peña Redonda of Happy Go Lucky. They were sentenced to 2 to 3 years of imprisonment by the Las Piñas City Regional Trial Court. This was confirmed by Percy's brother, Roy Mabasa, through his social media posts. The three gang leaders are co-accused of former Bureau of Corrections or Bucor Director General Gerald Bantag.
The Bureau of Immigration or BI rescued 11 individuals who are possible victims of human trafficking at the Mactan Cebu International Airport. They are bound for Dubai in United Arab Emirates. The immigration said 7 of them are females and 4 males. The BI added some of them were already offloaded and found in possession of employment visas. The victims were turned over to the Interagency Task Force Against Human Trafficking or IACAT. The immigration, meanwhile, reminds Filipinos who want to work abroad to follow the process and ensure to secure all necessary documents.
A political analyst advises senators to ensure substance on passing proposed measures as he laments the supposed railroading of the controversial Maharlika Investment Fund or MIF bill. This report will tell us why.
14 astronauts, 11 men and 3 women aboard the International Space Station have been monitored by Canadian researchers to
Former presidential political advisor Ronald Llamas believes the supposed weaknesses of the controversial Maharlika Investment Fund or MIF bill somehow caused its delay to be transmitted to the palace. Llamas believes senators might have seen the supposed loopholes in the proposed measure.
Oh,
Ito yung nakita rin nila na merong mga kahinaan. May mga kahinaan, baka hindi nila madepensahan pag umabot sa court. In a way, itong delay is a tacit acceptance na may weaknesses yung kanilang pinasa.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. certified the Senate's version of the MIF as urgent on May 22. A week after the plenary debates began, the period of interpellations was closed on May 30 after the Senate minority bloc was denied to further raise questions on the bill. The period of amendments followed until it was passed on third and final reading in the wee hours of May 31. The MIF bill stayed in the Senate for 3 weeks before it was signed by Senate President Juan Miguel Migzibiri on Wednesday, June 21. As the bill awaits the signature of the House before it can be transmitted to the President, Llamas advises lawmakers to ensure substance in the proposed measures.
Ito exactly yung sinasabi natin na hindi naayos. No? Lalo na may ilang mga senador ayaw ng pagdebatihan, gusto aprubahan na lang. So hindi ito usapin ng pabilisan ng aksyon. Usapin ito lang tama ba? Usapin ito ano ba yung laman, no? Dapat hindi mo ipahapak yung presidente. Dapat yung pipirma ay hindi siya magiging vulnerable. Baka mapahiya yung presidente.
Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The frantic search for the missing crew abroad. The frantic search for the missing crew aboard a submarine near the Titanic wreckage has taken a green turn as they were found by a remote search vehicle Thursday morning. Charisse Longbowen will give us the details. Why live. Good evening, Charisse.
Good evening, Kathy. All 5 passengers on board the missing Titan submarine are now confirmed dead after the discovery of debris near the Titanic undersea wreckage. The U.S. Coast Guard revealed this debris field is consistent with a catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber, causing an implosion hours after the Titan began its mission. According to Rear Admiral John Mauger of the U.S. Coast Guard, a total of 5 pieces of debris were found, including the tail cone on the Titan submersible, about 400 meters from Titanic's bow. In another statement released by the U.S. Navy, an anomaly was detected after examining acoustic data, which is found to be compatible with an implosion or explosion when communications ceased. The families of the 5 people have been immediately notified upon the discovery. Tributes from foreign ministries, family members, and adventure groups began to flow for the crew, which includes British billionaire Hamish Harding, French maritime expert Paul Henry Nargeolet, OceanGate founder Stockton Rush, and British-Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman Dawood. The bodies of the passengers are unlikely to be recovered as investigations undergo to determine the cause of the implosion. Meanwhile, scientists call to shut down all undersea expeditions to the Titanic until the cause has been determined. Back to you, Kathy.
Thank you, Charisse Longbowen, for that live report. Traveling in space dials down the activity in genes in white blood cells like leukocytes that results to weakening of the immune system of astronauts, according to a study. Mavin Carrizo tell us why.
14 astronauts, 11 men and 3 women aboard the International Space Station have been monitored by Canadian researchers to find out the main causes of experiencing immune dysfunction in space. Each one of the astronauts spent anywhere between 4.5 and 6.5 months aboard the International Space Station. Blood samples were taken before, during, and after their missions. Researchers found genes expression in the cells, also called leukocytes, quickly decreases 1/3 the normal levels when astronauts reach zero gravity, but then turns back to normal within a month when returning to Earth. Molecular biologist of the University of Ottawa in Canada, Odette Lanuville, said, weaker immunity increases the risk of infectious diseases. This has included the reactivation of latent viruses such as Epstein-Barr, responsible for infectious mononucleosis, the varicella zoster, responsible for shingles, and the herpes simplex 1, responsible for cold sores. She also mentioned that if astronauts while in space catches a severed state of any immune-related conditions, they would have limited access to care and medication. With this, new and specific countermeasures was said to be needed, as a study also showed astronauts in space shed more viral particles from their biological fluid, which increases the spread of pathogens to co-astronauts. Before the study, researchers knew about the immune dysfunction, but not of the mechanisms. Also being aware it was unlikely the greater solar radiation exposure in space was the culprit. With these, the team says understanding this phenomenon will help future explorations. Mavin Carrizo, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Kathy. For those watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. Two prominent officials have emerged among the top 12 Senate candidates according to a survey. The Pahayag 2023 second quarter voting disposition survey, which featured 43 names, revealed that former Social Welfare and Development Secretary Erwin Tulfo secured a strong position in the third spot with 44% of the votes. Ormoc City Mayor Lucy Torres Gomez entered the top 9 to 10 spot with 22% of the votes. Meanwhile, former President Rodrigo Duterte remains the prominent and unwavering front-runner, receiving 51% of the votes. Other seasoned politicians included in the Magic 12 Senate candidates are Dr. Willie Ong with 44% of the votes, Senator Bongo with 39% of the votes, and Senator Amy Marcos with 39% of the votes.
Hindi surprising, kumbaga, isang pwede nating sabihin dahil parehong prominent personalities ito. Nasa talagang contender mode, lalo-lalo na si Erwin Tulfo, na nasa, kumbaga unang kalahati. Unang kalahati. Samantalang si Lucy Torres Gomez naman, nasa ikalawang kalahati, na talagang alam naman natin na talagang kilala sila at alam kung anong ginagawa nila. Kaya malamang kasama sila ngayon sa top of mind ng tao, mga seasoned politicians. Ang pumapasok sa una at ikalawa na 12 ng roster ng para sa Senado. Doon pa lang medyo masikip dahil mixed
Meanwhile, the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, or PhilHealth, received an additional 21 billion pesos for this year. The health insurer stated that this funding would enhance their packages, for individuals undergoing hemodialysis. The number of sessions has now been institutionalized, increasing from 90 to 156 sessions. This expansion will essentially cover the entire year's sessions for patients.
Under the General Appropriations Act for 2023, may 21 billion na nanggaling po sa factor ECS ko na may transfer po sa PhilHealth. At yan po ay una para po sa papaputi ng ating coverage for hemodialysis. Ito na nga po yun, 156 session.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. appointed Eli Remolona as the new governor of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP. Remolona will replace Felipe Medalla, whose term will end on July 2. According to the president, he made the decision to appoint a new governor after extensive consultations with the Department of Finance, various government offices, private banks, and financial institutions. Remolona previously served as a finance professor and director of central banking at the Asia School of Business in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He also served as the chief representative for Asia and the Pacific at the Bank for International Settlements. Additionally, he worked as a consultant for the Asian Development Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank.
In other news, road closure in some parts of Manila will take effect tomorrow morning for the celebration of Manila Day. Several roads will be closed from 6 a.m. according to the Manila City Government Public Information Office. These include Moriones Street, J. Nolasco Street, and Santa Maria Street. Manila Local Government Unit reiterates that they presented alternative routes on their Facebook page for the people to get directions amid road closures.
The construction of the Motorcycle Riding Academy built by the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA is 80% completed. MMDA targets to open the Motorcycle Riding Academy this coming third quarter of the year. Through the Motorcycle Academy, MMDA believes this will be a great help to prevent road accidents involving motorcycle riders. Riders will be learning the proper and safe motorcycle riding procedures, road regulations that riders must follow, and basic emergency response. In 2021, the MMDA recorded over 26,000 motorcycle accidents, of which almost 300 of them were fatal. Education at the Motorcycle Riding Academy is free of charge. MMDA is also in charge of providing motors and gasoline to be used during the training. Applicants only need to bring their own helmet and safety gear. Those who will complete the two-day training will be given a certificate and badge for employment.
Apat po kasi yung covered ng curriculum na ito. One is yung reorientation nila sa traffic laws and rules. Second is yung discipline sa karsada. Third is yung riding skills na kailangan po nilang matutunan para makaiwas sa aksidente. At pang-apat is yung basic response po in case of emergency.
The price of vegetables from Benguet province has increased this rainy season. This is good news for farmers who are selling their harvest. The La Trinidad Vegetable Trading Center, tons of highland vegetables are brought from Benguet, Tinok, Ifugao, and Bauco Mountain Province. Almost 80% of highland vegetable requirements in Metro Manila and lowland provinces come from trading centers in Benguet. This rainy season, supply reduced a bit but still is sufficient, according to farmers and traders. For 2 weeks, the price of vegetables have increased as only cabbage at 50 pesos per kilogram and potatoes at 45 to 60 pesos per kilo. Carrots are 70 to 80 per kilogram, Wombok 50 per kilogram, lettuce is 200 to 280 depending on the type. According to the leadership of the Vegetable Trading Center, one reason for the price increase is the demand for various occasions such as graduation. According to farmers, expect the price of vegetables to increase this rainy season.
The Department of Health is actively seeking solutions to address the shortage of nurses in the country. One of these solutions is offering nursing assistant positions for nursing graduates who have not yet passed the nurse board exam. Darius Tawabi will tell us why.
Around 4,500 plantilla positions for nurses in government hospitals in the Philippines remain unfilled. According to Health Secretary Ted Herbosa, the Department of Health is seeking solutions to address the shortage of nurses in the country. Since providing temporary licenses to nursing graduates who have not yet passed the board exam is not feasible, the DOH is proposing nursing assistant positions to allow them to work in hospitals.
That's already a solution. But I'm trying to find a way na makapasa sila. So I'm mentoring nurses so that I can make them work in government, become better at nursing, and then eventually pass the board exam.
This alternative will enable nursing graduates to provide healthcare services and prepare for the board exam, as the DOH will provide mentoring.
We actually have a nursing assistant, which was worked out by our HHRDB, Health Human Resource and Development Bureau. And it's a salary grade 19. So that's about, I think about 20,000 pesos yung salary grade nun per month. And it's the one being offered as a solution. So I said, that's going to go forward. It will be open to nurses who graduated 4 years of college but are still awaiting to pass the exam. So that's the other option.
Meanwhile, the Professional Regulation Commission is open to assisting the agency in addressing the nursing shortage.
Lahat ng i-implement po na intervention para sa nursing shortage, masusing pag-aaral bago po implement. Saka stakeholder consultation.
Health Secretary Herbosa previously mentioned his agreement to regulate a return service agreement, wherein nurse graduates are required to serve the country for a certain number of years before working abroad. Gladys Tawabi, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Critical damages have been made to a bridge, one of the main routes for Russian supplies connecting Crimea to Ukraine. Russia has pointed fingers at Ukraine. Jane will give us the details. Why live? Good evening, Jane.
The bridge was critically damaged by Ukraine on Thursday, June 22, after deploying missiles, according to Russian officials. However, Ukraine has denied responsibility. One of the Russian-appointed officials in Kherson, Vladimir Saldo, called the attack another meaningless act, adding that it does not solve anything related to special military operations. And while there are alternative pathways to Ukraine for the Russians, it would take hours driving on roads in poor condition, and repairing it could take weeks. According to Hanna Maliar, Ukraine's deputy defense minister, the country has also been making progress in the southern and eastern front, where they have successfully restricted Russian movement. Meanwhile, Ukraine has also been able to take back multiple villages from Russia, and is preparing for the early stages of their counteroffensive by striking at Russia's many supply routes. Back to you, Kathy.
Thank you, Jane Robles, reporting live from Vietnam. Prior to the effective date of the Online News Act, Facebook and Instagram will cease to provide news to all users in Canada. Monica Canlas tells us why.
Bill C-18, the Online News Act, received royal assent on Thursday, 22nd of June 2023. This new law will require digital platforms to fairly compensate Canadian news businesses for their content. In a statement released by Meta Platforms Incorporated, who owns Facebook and Instagram, confirmed that users in Canada will no longer be able to access news on its social media sites before the Online News Act goes into effect. On the other hand, Google has proposed revising the bill to make payments based on the display of news content. Google argues that Canada's law is broader than those in Australia and Europe, and puts a price on news story links that are displayed in search results. The Online News Act ensures equitable revenue between digital platforms and news outlets. This act also allows small news organizations to bargain collectively. The Heritage Minister Pablo Rodriguez says the government will engage in a regulatory and implementation process after the legislation comes into effect. Monica Canlas, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Biden's comment referring to China's leader Xi Jinping as a dictator and highlighting China's economic difficulties has sparked condemnation from China. This comes shortly after Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to Beijing, which aimed to improve the strained relationship between the two countries. While the talks were seen as productive, they did not appear to result in insignificant breakthroughs. China's swift response raises concerns about whether Biden's remarks will undermine the progress made during Blinken's visit or if the two sides will move forward. During a fundraiser in California, Biden mentioned the incident involving a Chinese spy balloon that flew over U.S. skies, portraying Xi as out of touch and embarrassed. He downplayed China's trade competition and emphasized their economic difficulties. These comments were made ahead of a state visit by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, where China was expected to be a central topic of discussion. China quickly criticized Biden's remarks, considering them absurd and irresponsible. They maintained their version of balloon incident as an accidental occurrence during meteorological research. The White House indicated that Biden will not retract his comments, stating that he speaks candidly about China and the existing differences. Analysts attribute Biden's strong remarks to political pressure from Republicans and his desire not to be seen as weak against China. Some Republicans approve of Biden's characterization of Xi as a dictator, citing the lack of term limits and the Communist Party's authority in China. However, Biden acknowledged, despite Blinken's efforts during his visit, the rebuilding the relationship with China would still take time. Those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I'm Kathy Navarro, live from Vietnam. Good evening.
Our kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the various challenges and uncertainties, we are inviting everyone to join the Global Prayer for Humanity from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Romans, chapter 2, verse 23, it says, "Thou that makest thy boast of the law, through breaking the law, dishonorest thou God." And those are the reasons behind the news, June 23, 2023. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Harleen Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.